to the 10th from the Shack. We've got lots of great barbecue ideas for you today. Now, Elky, how are you and what have you been up to?
Yeah, I'm really good, mate. Really good. I'm always good, but I'm especially good when the sun's shining. And it's now finally starting to feel a little bit like summer, isn't it? The sun's been beaming. I've had friends over. Been really enjoying the last couple of weeks. Been creating a lot of content, some of it for my own channel, some of it for other people. So I'm sure you'll see more of that soon. So what about you, mate? What have you been up to?
I've been doing lots of cooking on the KJ, which has been great fun. But now, Elky, there's a video going around on social media of you having a bit of a fall this week. What happened?
Oh, mate, yeah. I thought I'd put it up on social media for a bit of a laugh, but I had some friends over. Had a few beers. I mean, the beers weren't anything to do with it, but I'd had a few beers and I kind of come out of my kitchen, walking down to the shack, and we've got this kind of foam padding down to keep Joe, my little nipper, from hurting himself on the tiles, on the slate. So we've got the padding down, and the padding's kind of give way under my feet, and I've taken a bit of a tumble. So I stuck it on social media to brighten up everyone's weekend and give everyone a bit of a laugh, mate.
It was absolutely brilliant. Now it's time to see what's coming up in today's show.
Coming up, Elky shows us how to cook a grass-fed brisket with his hot and fast technique, and he also makes the tastiest brisket chili ever. Neal puts his spin on barbecue chicken tikka masala and attempts to cook ostrich for the first time. We have a new competition. You could win this brilliant BBQ Brave box from Thermapen. Our special guest is barbecue influencer Wolfe from Over the Fire Cooking, who has over 1.5 million followers on Instagram. And we take a look at what you, the barbecue community, have been up to in What's Cooking. Welcome to From the Shack.
Now, we've got lots of great content for you coming up. Now, Elky, in Cooking with Fire, you're cooking brisket. What inspired you to do it?
A, I love brisket, and B, there's always a big debate over grass-fed versus grain-fed, low and slow versus hot and fast. So I like to champion grass-fed brisket, and I also like my hot and fast method. But enough of me talking, let's just take a look at the video. Today we're talking brisket. Now, you may have seen on previous shows and on my channel that I like to cook my brisket hot and fast. This means cooking a brisket in 6 hours or less normally. And I normally do it with a point end of brisket, and today I'm going to try it with a whole pack of brisket. Now, this is from Philip Warren Butchers. It's a grass-fed brisket, and if you've seen my channel, you'll know that I always champion grass-fed beef. Now, you'll see here that I've already trimmed this brisket and I've already put the rub on because I wanted to put it on an hour before it goes into the smoker, because one thing I never quite get right is the bark when I do it hot and fast. So I thought I'll put the rub on an hour early and see how we go. So all I've done with this brisket is I've taken off a lot of the hard fat that would have been all on the top here and all along the edges, and we've kind of streamlined it a bit as well. There's a kind of straggly bit of meat at the end here, so we just kind of rounded it off, give it a nice streamlined look, and we've put the rub on underneath and all over the top. We've been generous with the rub, we've patted in the rub, and this is now ready for the Kamado Joe. When I say we're going to cook brisket hot and fast, what I mean is I've had too many sleepless nights where I've had a brisket on low and slow overnight. We've all been there, and I've done my fair share of those. So I'm going to show you a way that we can cook a brisket in less than half of the time. And yes, you may get slightly better results when you cook it low and slow, but for these briskets, these grass-fed briskets from Philip Warren Butchers, I always get good results. And I think, is that extra little percentage worth it for saving 6 hours? I think so. So this is going to go in the Kamado Joe, Big Joe. We're going to cook it at about 300 degrees Fahrenheit for around 3 hours. After that, we're going to wrap it in some butcher paper and then put it back in the Kamado Joe and have the temperature between 300 and 350 until it finishes. I'll know when it's done. I'm going to use the Thermapen smoke. This is going to monitor the pit temperature and the meat temperature. So once the meat hits around 92 degrees Celsius, I'm going to unwrap it and I'm going to start probing it with my Thermapen. And what I'm looking for is that probe to just go in to that meat with no resistance at all. We want it to probe in like butter. So we're going to go ahead and put this in the Kamado Joe. I'm using oak chunks for the smoke. This is going to go in now, and we'll see you again when it's done. 3.5 hours into the brisket cook, and I've just had a little probe with the Thermapen. Now the flat, just as I suspected might happen, it's cooking a lot quicker than the point. So I'm going to separate the flat from the point. I'm just going to slice it off, I'm going to wrap it up, and I'm still going to put it back in there until it's finished. The point end still has, as I expected, 2, maybe 3 hours to go. So we're going to wrap both of those in butcher paper, put them back in, but when I think the flat is ready and when it's probing tender, I'm just going to bring that out and I'm going to keep that warm somewhere while the point finishes off. So let's crack on. So the briskets are done. They've been resting this has been resting for about an hour, this one about 45 minutes, but I can't wait any longer. Now, as you've seen, and unorthodox I know, and I've never done it before, I separated the flat from the point because the flat was cooking a lot quicker than the point, and I didn't want the flat to dry out while the point wasn't ready yet. Like I said, I've done these points hot and fast before, and they work out perfectly every time for me. I've never done it as the whole pack of briskets, so this is a bit of an experiment. I'm doing the experiment so you guys don't have to. So we're going to unwrap this flat and see exactly how we've done. So we sliced in there. It's probably a little bit over for my liking, but it still looks absolutely banging. It's still got the bend on it, still holds under its own weight, and you can still just pull it apart just like that. So I'm happy. Remember, this is cooked in about 5 hours. So let's have a little taste of that brisket with a bit of that bark. That has turned out all right, to be honest. It's not as juicy as some of the flats that I've had, but remember, I like to cook the points hot and fast. This has been an experiment to cook the flat hot and fast as well. I'd say it's gone well. Like I said, it's still nice and tender, nice and floppy, holds under its own weight, pulls apart like that, and it tastes great. So I'm happy with that. 5 hours, that's the flat. Now let's take a look at the point. Let's just go in and have a taste. You can see there, it's nice and tender. I'm definitely team point rather than team flat. The point end for me just has that extra juiciness, the extra flavour. You can take off a nice big chunk and it just melts in the mouth. So there we go. That's my whole pack of brisket, grass-fed brisket, cooked. Again, this was cooked in about 5 hours. Would I do it again with the flat attached? Possibly not. Like I said, I've got my method down to a T with the point ends and I love it. I thought I'd give it a go with the flat as well. The flat, like I said, it's turned out okay, but there is room for improvement. So the good thing about that is it means we get to experiment again, we get to cook it again, and that's half the fun of it. It's just trial and error, and you get to eat whatever doesn't work out. So the flat is going to make an absolutely banging chili, and I'll do a video on that soon. The rest of it is going to go to leftovers. We're going to make tacos, we're going to make all sorts of dishes with this brisket. So hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you again soon.
Now, Elky, that was another great barbecue film. But how did the cook go for you?
Thanks, mate. I'll be completely honest, you know, it wasn't one of my best briskets. There was a few things that went wrong on the day, some of it human error, some of it things out of my control. I mean, it's gale force winds on the day. We were filming a few videos for my channel and, you know, like I said, it wasn't perfect, but barbecue isn't always perfect. Sometimes it doesn't always go to plan. But whenever it doesn't go entirely to plan, you can always make something like this.
Elky, that brisket chili looked absolutely amazing. How tasty was it?
Cheers, mate. Very tasty. I'm not going to lie. I mean, smoked brisket in the chili, I don't think you can beat it when it's made with smoked brisket. But enough about what I've been up to. Should we take a look at what you've been cooking?
It's great to be outdoors, and I'm loving the sunshine after what seems like weeks of rain. The garden is coming alive, and it feels like summer is here. Today in Outdoor Living, I'm doing 2 cooks. Using my Kamado Joe Classic 2, I'm going to grill ostrich steaks, which is a first for me. But I'm going to start with a tasty chicken tikka masala dish, which is easy to make on your barbecue. It's delicious. Golden chicken pieces in a rich creamy sauce. For this dish, I'm using around 600 grams of skinless chicken thighs. Nothing beats cooking chicken over a hot charcoal fire. First up, you need to make a marinade. You'll need 250 grams of Greek yogurt, the juice of 1 lemon, 3 tablespoons of Parmesan cheese, 4 garlic cloves, and 2 teaspoons of sea salt, paprika, garam masala, and cumin. Place the chicken thighs in a non-metallic dish or a bowl. Add the ingredients and mix together, then place the chicken in the fridge for around an hour or so. Prepare your barbecue for both direct and indirect cooking, and grill the chicken over the hot charcoal and finish off with indirect heat. The combination of spices creates a fantastic aroma. This chicken is cooked once it reaches an internal temperature of 75 degrees C. This is easy to check with a Thermapen probe. Put to one side and chop into bite-sized pieces. Now it's time to make the creamy curry sauce. For this you will need a medium-sized onion, 1 tablespoon of tomato puree, 4 garlic cloves, 250 ml of single cream, 1.5 tablespoons of grated ginger, 800 grams of passata, 2 teaspoons of cumin, turmeric, coriander, chili powder, paprika, and garam masala. I'm using my Dutch oven to make the sauce. Add a little rapeseed oil and heat up the pot. Add the onion, garlic and ginger and cook for around 5 minutes. Add the remaining spices. Give the mixture a good stir for a minute before adding the tomato puree. Pour in the passata and cook for around 10 to 15 minutes. Add the cream and cook for another 5 minutes. Finally, mix the chicken pieces into the sauce and cook for 5 minutes. Then you're done. This curry dish is absolutely delicious and well worth a try. I serve the chicken tikka masala with onion bhajis, Bombay potato and pilau rice. This meal has definitely encouraged me to cook more curries outdoors this summer. Now for my second dish. I was in the supermarket and I saw this pack. I've never eaten ostrich before and knew nothing about it or how to cook it. Always up for a challenge, I thought I'd give it a go on the KJ, but first I did a bit of ostrich research online. Apparently, ostrich doesn't taste like other birds. Its meat is red like venison but tastes like beef and is lower in fat than chicken or turkey. Ostrich meat is very lean. You need to be careful not to overcook it. The recommended preparation for this red meat is medium or medium rare with an internal temperature between 51 to 63 degrees C. With my research over, I thought I'd create a red wine and mushroom sauce to go with the ostrich fillet steaks. To make this, you will need 250 grams of mushrooms. I went for chestnut mushrooms. 1 grated medium onion, a clove of garlic, 250 millilitres of red wine, a few sprigs of thyme, 100 ml of beef stock and 2 tablespoons of double cream. For this cook, I used a cast iron frying pan over direct heat. First I added a knob of butter to the pan, added the onion and garlic and cooked until light golden. I poured in the wine, stock and added the thyme and cooked until it reduced by half, which took around 10 minutes. The mushrooms were added next and cooked for another 5 minutes before I poured in the cream and cooked for a further 5 minutes before removing from the heat. The ostrich fillets were quite small and I was worried about overcooking. I removed them once they reached an internal temperature of 59 degrees C. I served the ostrich with minted new potatoes, green beans and the red wine and mushroom sauce. The ostrich was pretty tasty and the sauce was delicious and rich in flavour. The meat was slightly overdone, to be honest. It was good, but I don't think it will replace a beefsteak in my house. The weather's looking great over the next few weeks, and if you're thinking about upping your barbecue game this summer, why not get in touch with Barbecue Barn? Their shops in Sidcup and Leigh-on-Sea are open from Mondays through to Saturdays, or visit their website.
Elky, I really enjoyed those cooks, but I'm not too sure about Ostrich.
I've got to say, mate, your tikka masala looked absolutely banging. Ostrich, I've never tried, but I'll always keep an open mind.
Now let's see what you guys have been cooking in What's Cooking. Some great barbecue photos of Elky, but which was your favourite?
Yeah, there were some great ones, yeah. And I normally pick the filthy looking cooks, but I've gone for something a bit different this time. I've picked Halifax Smokebox because he's absolutely done that Dover soul justice.
It was a great photo, Elky. Now, we're launching a new competition right now. Elky, would you like to tell us what's involved?
I certainly would, yes. So we've teamed up with Thermapen for their BBQ Brave campaign. Now, we've got a BBQ Brave box here that's consisting of a Thermapen Pro. There's a voucher from Ethical Butchers for £50. We've got some Angus and Oik rubs and some tongs in there. Now, all you've got to do to enter is this. Carry on sending in your photos using the hashtag from the shack, but also use the hashtag BBQ Brave. Now, you've got until Thursday, the 17th of June to enter, and we will pick a winner from random, from a hat, and we'll announce it on the next show.
Please enter. We love seeing your photographs. Now, Elky, would you like to introduce our special guest for the show?
I would, yes. So our special guest is somebody that loves cooking over fire. He's got over 1.5 million Instagram followers. It's Derek Wolfe, aka Over the Fire Cooking.
Derek, you're a cooking with fire expert. You're based in Nashville, Tennessee. You've got more than 1.5 million followers on Instagram. When did your love of outdoor cooking begin?
Oh, man. Well, first off, thank you guys for having me on the show. It started about 5 years ago. So I was working a corporate job. I graduated college from the University of Tennessee. My wife and I, we got married, and I was working a corporate job, and I just hated my life. And so I wanted to do something that really inspired me. On the weekends, we would just cook anything that we could get our hands on cooked over fire. I just got like a little popover grill grate, and my wife, we got a fire pit and a DSLR camera as a wedding present. And so we just went into the backyard, and I just started cooking, and she was working, she wanted to become work on her photography skills. And so she was like, you should just start a social media page. And so we started Over Fire Cooking, and it's been a whirlwind ever since.
Derek, did you have any background in cooking? I mean, have you had any kind of experience with food before? Or did you just kind of get stuck in?
I mean, I'm a fat ass. So
we sound like we've got the same journey.
Growing up, we traveled a lot. So my dad worked in corporate America, and he had a lot of business overseas. And so we would go and travel the world. And the big thing that we always did is my mom was a dietitian. And so we ate really freaking healthy at home all the time. But the minute we got on to traveling and going around the world, it was like anything was fair game. You mentioned the traveling and obviously getting all these experiences from around the world, and obviously different fire techniques as well. Is there a particular cuisine that sticks to mind? Is there a particular favorite? Gosh, I love South American cooking. Like it's really just really hard to beat, specifically Argentinian or Brazilian cooking. I mean, I love it. It's simplistic and it's huge cuts of meat and it's all cooked over open pit fire. That's just at the end of the day, probably my favorites, but I've been venturing into all kinds of new cuisines. I have exhausted a lot of the flavor profiles in South America and really tried to go even more niche in all of that. I grew up a period of my life in El Paso, Texas, so right on the border of Mexico, and there's so many Hispanic recipes that I've fallen in love with. That's probably one of my go-to secondary flavor profiles, is doing something that has Spanish or Mexican cuisine. But I've also really fallen in love with a lot of Japanese flavors. And so I really, really love, marinating in soy and doing, yakitori kind of stuff as well. So I've been experimenting with a lot of that lately.
We all know that obviously fire makes everything taste better. What advice would you give to somebody kind of first starting out in cooking with fire?
Buy 2 of everything. That's what I did starting out. I would burn, destroy, undercook, whatever the first time. And that's how I learned, so that I could do it again and try it again. And then slowly over time, I got better. Another thing is you don't have to be a chef to be a good cook. And sometimes I think the fun thing is, because I'm not a chef, I'm not afraid to break the culinary norms. I'll put cheese on seafood. I don't care what you say. I'll do more than salt on picanha. Like I will do all kinds of stuff and I'm not afraid of it. There's tradition and that's great. And I want to honor that. But at some point, those traditional recipes were non-traditional.
You've got to play with your food, right?
Oh, 100%. That's all you have to do.
Derek, which grills and smokers do you like working with?
Oh, man. I have some pretty simplistic ones. I have a grill company called Amara. They're based out of Argentina that I really, really love. There's a US-based company called Oklahoma Joe's. They make just simple smokers and grills. They're not trying to overcomplicate anything. They're just making it classic American-style grills. I really, really like that. And there's a few other ones out there that I really enjoy. I don't know if you guys have it in the UK, but there's a company called Brio. They make quote unquote smokeless fire pits. Basically, the way it is that smoke in and of itself is recombustible. And so they have a airflow system that allows the smoke to come back around underneath the fire and recombust, and thus making less smoke. And they're fun, man. They're fantastic fire pits, but they're also really consistent grills and cookers.
That sounds interesting. So the smoke kind of comes through and over your food and then back down and back through the fire. And
yeah. So at the top of the ring, so it's a circle grill, and then right underneath the lip at the edge is a bunch of air holes. And it's a double barrel. So it's a small barrel sitting on top of a big barrel. And then there's a ventilation system where the smoke is going into cooler parts of the grill. And then it's coming back up in underneath the fire pit. And there's no electronics, no nothing. It's all just
incredible. Amazing.
It's really, really fun. And obviously, they always joke, you can't make a fire completely smokeless. Like that's half of the flavor is the smoke itself. But it definitely helps on everybody's been sitting around the campfire, and some nights the fire just chooses that one person that it's gonna just smoke all over, and this really helps to reduce all of that. So Brio's really fun.
Derek, you've got some brilliant recipes on your website. Which ones are your particular favorites?
I have a honey Cajun grilled lobster tail recipe that I really love. Very simple. And it has a lot of flavor, really, really good. I also really love doing skirt steak with it's a cilantro based chimichurri that I put on top. So inherently not necessarily actually a chimichurri, but there's something, it's a lot of fun to cook as well. But honestly, I have a lot of new ones that are coming out that I'm really excited about. I posted just the other day a garlic parmesan and beer chicken wings recipe, brining in beer overnight. And then I like doing 2 cooks on chicken wings. So I'll either grill them or smoke them, and then I'll fry them. And then I toss them in a simple garlic parmesan butter red chili flakes kind of sauce. So that's probably one of my favorites for sure. And then actually coming out very soon, I'm making crispy cheese tortilla tacos. So keto-ish friendly tacos, I guess, to some degree. Definitely not healthy. That's all.
Yeah, I've not eaten yet, and you're making me very, very hungry. Now, Derek, your Instagram, you've got, I think it's 1.6 million followers, which is just incredible. I noticed lately, I've been following you for a few years, I've noticed lately that the majority of your content is reels and short videos. Would you say that kind of videos have taken over that platform?
Social right now is video, 90% video. It has been kind of sad. When I first joined onto social, it was mostly static imagery. And I think it's absolutely beautiful. The hard thing is with static is that, you know, it over time, videos are just more intriguing and just as beautiful. And you can walk away learning something. I used to just binge watching tasty style videos, those 1 minute recipe videos. And I was just like, nobody's doing something like this in the barbecue cooking world, at least that I'd seen. There are plenty of YouTubers and guys that were doing recipe videos, longer form, but nothing under a minute. And so I really wanted to try doing something like that. And it really exploded my account and kind of been the basis for everything. And now it's both fun and sad to watch we went from a minute to 30-second to 15-second like videos. And I'm posting today literally a sizzling video of me adding Wagyu onto a plancha. And it did really well on TikTok. I'm just going to reshare it onto Instagram. And it's like, I feel really excited because it should do well. But at the same time, I spent hours on these 1 minute videos, only for like a little sizzle reel video to probably do better than all of that content.
So, I mean, it's kind of gone from, your full kind of feature length, shall we say, 5 minute, 10 minute videos on YouTube down to 60 seconds to 30 seconds to 15 seconds. It's going to go back to pictures again then soon, surely.
I think we're going to see a huge boom in long form video. Like, I think YouTube in and of itself, I mean, right now I was looking at the Consumer Reports with one of my friends about stuff, and they consider YouTube in the category with Netflix. They don't put it in with social media. And that blows my mind. I mean, you're basically, it basically is a independent television network.
Talking about your YouTube channel, I mean, you've got 100,000 subscribers on there as well, and you've got some amazing looking recipes on there. I think a particular favourite of mine, I think you did a sriracha bourbon pork belly. Talk me through that one, because I absolutely love pork belly.
So sriracha bourbon pork belly, that guy was pan seared. So just a really simple, like, pork belly, obviously uncured bacon, and then you can render it down. I was just cooking it right into a skillet wok on my K. But I mean, the idea is just to simmer it down, get a lot of that fat out until they're just like little golden cubes.
Derek, what gave you the inspiration to create your own range of blends and rubs?
First off, I love the rapid fire questions. I think that is so much fun. So it started off, I initially got a message from Pete Taylor, who's the owner of Spiceology. So I have quite a few rubs on Spiceology. They're a massive growing online brand. Yours truly, DJ Barbecue, has some rubs on there. And I know that there's going to be some other ones that are coming out, hopefully with a few UK influencers at some point. And so I launched Chipotle garlic, and it did well in the beginning, but they wanted to come back and do a larger line to see, how much further could we take this? We were testing it out. And so I came out with the Americana line. And so Tennessee Smoke is an ode to some amazing barbecue here in Tennessee Smoke. Hatch Chili is an ode to New Mexico and my time living right on the border near Texas and New Mexico. And the Hatch chilies that are out there. Maple Bourbon is, again, a little ode to Tennessee and to Kentucky and some of the barbecue flavors that are out there. And like Nashville Hot Chicken, obviously, is my own rendition of Nashville Hot. And then we had Chipotle garlic. And so we launched it. And the next thing we knew, they were just selling like hotcakes. It's been a whirlwind ever since. 2 years ago, Pete and I were casually talking, and he was saying that they had just found a new way where they could infuse seasonings with beer flavors. And I was like, oh, that'd be really fun to do barbecue beer rubs. And he was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And so I just started writing recipes for these little odes to areas. So mesquite peppercorn lager is an ode to Texas and some classic Texas barbecue that I grew up with. Hickory peach porter is an ode to Georgia and my time living in there. And so anyway, it just kind of blew up, and we put them in cans. And the next thing we knew, it was like everywhere. And so, and we have another line coming out in a little over a month.
Derek, you've obviously got the a very popular Instagram account, YouTube, website, range of rubs. What's next? The book. Talk us through that, Food by Fire.
Yeah, I've always teased about writing a cookbook. Maybe at one point, I never thought I was really qualified to ever write a cookbook, but I threw the idea out there, and a publisher picked it up, and they were really excited about it. And so it's really just simple and approachable recipes, things that I've done before, or expansions on things that I'm excited about doing. And it breaks fire cooking down into two categories. So indirect and direct fire cooking, and then 3 separate ways of how you could cook using those. The thing I'm really excited about, though, is that I have a breakdown of how to build a fire for every style of cooking, and really the ways to maintain the fire for that.
Do you prefer cooking over charcoal or wood? I'm guessing the answer is wood.
I actually really love smoking with charcoal and with wood. I love cooking on charcoal. I can easily cook on wood. It just takes like a little while for it to coal up and really get good. I like that a lot. They both serve different purposes, though, and they both have different kind of flavor profiles. And wood is obviously a lot more stronger.
And wood's more fun.
It is. It is definitely more fun.
Now I'll put you on the spot here. What's your favorite meal to cook? Your ultimate meal to cook over fire?
So I probably got 2. I love doing bread on the fire. So I love making coal roasted flatbread. Is actually one of the recipes that's going to be in the cookbook, but basically using some pizza dough and then flattening it out, cooking that. I love doing it as a beginning course for a lot of people. So you can make it savory, you can make it sweet, you can do all kinds of fun stuff with it. Goat cheese, dates, arugula and prosciutto, all the way down to hazelnuts and berries. I love doing that, and it freaks people out, especially because they're like, there's no way that you can actually cook that on the fire. So that's one of my favorites. But, if I'm just thinking like everyday cooks, man, I'm a New York strip guy. I really love a classic grilled New York strip, pairing it with some like potatoes of some type. I guess, if it's in the perfect world, I don't need vegetables, so we'll leave that off. And then just like a simple like steakhouse or steakhouse butter to top it off. In terms of the future, what's next for Derek Wolfe? We have another spice line that's coming out. We're really excited about that. I am in the process of writing the second cookbook. And then, we cook 3 new recipes a week. We post on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Pinterest, YouTube, and our blog. And so I'm hoping to bring on a couple new content creators here very soon to kind of expand the team and get some fresh new ideas when it comes to open fire cooking.
Derek, good luck with all your projects, and thank you for being a brilliant guest on the show.
Yes, thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Derek. Much appreciated.
Elky, I think Derek was a fantastic guest, and his recipes are amazing.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I've been following him since I've been on Instagram, I think, and his recipes are amazing. He is a big inspiration, so fair play to him. Great guest.
Absolutely. Now, that's about it for this show. Thank you ever so much for watching. A big thank you to our program sponsor, Kamado Joe, and our feature sponsors, Thermapen, Barbecue Barn, and Philip Warren Butchers. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, and as always, guys, huge thanks from me. Keep those fires burning, and we'll see you next time.